Okay, so we're going to talk about category 3. We're going to talk about direct variation and equation of lines. So go ahead and open your book up to that. And we are going to talk about direct variation. And remember some important things about direct variation. It's going to pass through the origin, which means the y-intercept is going to be 0. So you aren't going to see a b. You're just going to see y equals mx. So your slope can be found by just taking a y value and dividing it by an x. You don't need two y's and two x's to find slope for direct variation. It's also going to call its slope a constant of proportionality because direct variation graphs are proportional, and you can use that to solve word problems. So we're going to look at this example. The distance a jet travels varies directly with the number of hours it flies. A jet traveled 3,420 miles in 6 hours. And when you see the phrase varies directly or you see proportional in the word problem, this is how you're going to write the equation for the situation that you are given. So what we need is we are going to find the slope, and all we need is an x value and a y value. So I'm going to find my y value first because remember slope has y over x. So I've got two numbers, 3,420 and 6 hours. Well, I know that time is always x, so that means that 3,420,000 miles, that has to be my y value. So 3,420, and I need to extend my fraction bar just a little bit. And then my x value is going to be the 6, as in the 6 hours, because remember time is always x, so it's going to be over 6. All right, so now I'm going to get my calculator and I'm going to simplify this slope. So I'm going to clear that off. Alpha y equals enter 3,420 all divided by 6, and the slope is 570 miles per hour. If we're going to use appropriate miles per hour is how we abbreviate that, MPH, which you should be familiar with if you have ever ridden in a car and read speed limit signs. Okay, but we need an equation. So remember, we got to do y equals mx. So my equation is going to be y equals, my slope is 570, and then x. And then if you want to think about it like this, your y-intercept, b, is going to be equal to 0. So I don't have to show the plus 0 part, but I'm going to for this example just so you recognize that your y-intercept is 0, and again, you're not going to see this in your final answer. All right, so part B, estimate how many hours it would take the jet to fly 6,500 miles. So I want to look at this number, and it's telling me that this is a y number because it's talking about miles, it's not talking about time. So they're telling me that y is equal to 6,500. Now, I have an equation and I have a y value, so I could use my calculator and I could go to the table. So they've given me the y value of 6,500, and if they've given me the y value, that must mean they're asking me for the x value. So let's go to our calculator, and we're going to type in to y equals, we're going to type in our equation, which is 570x. And again, you could put plus 0, but you don't have to. And then we're going to go to our table, and we're looking for a y value of 6,500. So I'm going to scroll down, and I'm looking for a y value of 6,000. There's a 6,270, so I need to go one more. But then it jumps to 6,840. So I'm skipping over 6,500, and that falls between these two y values, which tells me my answer falls between 11 and 12. I just need to know exactly what place value or decimal value that's going to be between 11 and 12. So my calculator didn't really help me at this time. So now I'm going to go to this words known, unknown table. It's going to help me set up a proportion that I can use to solve for this. So I need my words. Again, I've got hours, and I have miles, because those are the two units of measurement that we are using for this situation. We're measuring things in hours and miles. And so now I'm going to fill in the known and unknown. Well, it told me at the very beginning that if I know my hours is 6, then I know exactly how many miles I have. I have 3,420 miles. And then I've got my unknown column. So either I'm not going to know my hours or I'm not going to know my miles. Well, they gave me another number for miles, so I'm going to put that in the correct row, 6,500. But what I don't know is I don't know the number of hours. So now what I'm going to do is now I'm going to cross multiply and divide to solve this proportion. And so remember, to solve a proportion, you're going to multiply the two numbers that are connected together. So I've got 6 times 6,500, and then I'm going to divide by the number that's connected to my unknown number. So I'm going to divide by 3,420, and I get 11.4. So x is equal to 11.4 hours. And if I used my knowledge from my table, remember my x value was going to fall between 11 and 12, and 11.4 is between 11 and 12. So to fly 6,500 miles, it will take the jet. $11.4 hours. All right, looking at the next thing. So we're just going to review parallel, perpendicular, horizontal, and vertical lines. We've talked about horizontal and vertical lines. Horizontals, those are y equals equations. The slope is 0, and just know that they are parallel to the x-axis. For vertical lines, it's an x equal equation. The slope is undefined, and they are going to be perpendicular to the x-axis, because to be vertical, you're going to be crossing the x-axis. And reviewing slopes for parallel lines, they have the same slope but different y-intercepts, okay? Their b values are going to be different, but their slope is going to be the same, because that's what's causing them to lean the same direction, so that they do not intersect. So if the slope of one line is -4/3, the slope of a line parallel to it is also going to be -4/3, okay? Perpendicular lines, however, have a pattern to their slopes, and they obviously can't be the same, because perpendicular lines are going to intersect, and specifically they're going to intersect at right angles. So lines that have perpendicular, lines that are perpendicular have opposite reciprocal slopes. Opposite means there's going to be a sign change. So if one slope is positive, the other slope is going to be negative. And then reciprocal is just a fancy word for saying, hey, flip your fraction. Those numbers are going to be in opposite spots. They're going to flip. So I have 2/3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the 2 and the 3. So now the 3 becomes my numerator and the 2 becomes my denominator. So if I see fractions that are flipped in different signs, one's positive, one negative, I automatically know these lines are perpendicular without having to do any more investigation or math work.